My name is Guido van der Graaf and you're here with the CBI tutorials on how to create a successful tourism website. In this section we talk about blogs and how you can use your tourism expertise to get a lot of visitors to your website. Blogging. Probably one of the best ways to get more visitors to your website. And not just visitors, but actually highly targeted visitors that you can warm up for a sale. Now, why is that? Because on a blog, you have the space and the time to show that you are a travel expert for the niche you are operating in. In a blog, you can answer questions from your target audiences in depth. And that is helpful because your customers or potential customers will search for those kind of questions in Google. And if you give those answers on your website, the chance that Google finds you as an answer on their questions is relatively high. And therefore, you'll get more visitors to your website. Now, the CBI EU Market Information Tourism How Start a Travel Blog is explaining how you can get the most out of blogging. And one of the tips that the document gives is maybe you should not write all the posts yourself. And there are influencers or even bloggers that can write for you. And these days, those costs of blogging are going down. Also, with the help of all these artificial intelligence tools that you might have heard about it. Well, here in the document, you can read about tips and tricks of if you are approaching a blogger, what you should do. And of course, you should have a very clear briefing, but you also want to understand, hey, does this blogger actually know about my products? Because if the blogger doesn't know about your products and you know actually more about your products, maybe you should write those kind of blogs with artificial intelligence programs like ChatGPT or others like, for example, Jasper. A very brief example how an artificial intelligent robot actually works. The more specific I am to an artificial intelligence system, the better results that I get. So when I write an example, okay, or actually an assignment, write me a travel blog about local food in Gouda, the Netherlands, like the stroopwafel cheese and pannenkoeken that young professionals from the USA that love to travel, like culture and heritage, like to read. It gives me a highly targeted blog. So I have to think about what kind of output I want from a blog. I have to do that for a travel writer for a blog, but I also have to do that for ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT is writing me exactly what I want. How there's a great destination for young professionals, etc. But it also, for example, says, hey, it's also famous about cheese. Um, it's also something where you should try the pannenkoeken, right? I added that in. But it also gives some very interesting things I didn't even say. Try, for example, topping with sugar and butter, which is indeed a very good idea to try. And then it also says, hey, hello, you love heritage. Gouda is actually known because of its history and culture. There are 17th century buildings, and it's really great idea to take a stroll along the canals. This is all true. So I gave a very short question. I added in what I wanted from the blog, and the artificial intelligence machine robot came up with this text. I really suggest you start working with these kind of tools. The next tip is sharing your blog. Very important, not just through your social media channels and your e-newsletter, but also try to distribute your article to other travel magazines or public relationship websites, especially if you have something new to share. This could be very effective. And so, what to write about can be quite difficult. So, that's why the development of a blog calendar can be really helpful. So, you think in advance what kind of topics should I write about to show my expertise towards my niche? And this can be about food, this can be about your destination, about your experiences, this can be about your company. How do you make things happen as long as it has value for your specific persona? Very smart repurposing content. You don't always have to start from scratch. Take a product, for example. You already have information from that and extend that. But also, maybe you wrote a blog last year. Can you update it with new facts? Maybe things changed. As is always wise, once you wrote a blog every year, look at the blog. Can you change it a little bit through the actuality so that your old blog is repurposed and found again in search engine? So then the blog has a longer lifetime. Um, yeah, then there are lots of more tips. Stay focused on the topic. Write a good title. Be emotional. Show you're human. Don't be just factual, but really show the experience. Also show your advice. You are a tour operator. Where should people go to? How should they get the most out of this experience? And then there are other tips to write attractively. One of the blogs that I like is from Myanmar Shalom. They do some interesting things, like for example, in this interesting things about you never knew from Myanmar. So they discuss things that are strange for foreigners or people who are not very familiar with the culture of Myanmar. So it's kind of an article that educates about Myanmar. So, and if I understand more about something, I can appreciate it more. You unlock the beauty. But what they do is, though they tell here about Tanaka, but here before also about Alongi, and they connect it with a product. So I'm not really sure if this is really an in-depth experience about Along, but at least they connect it to a product that okay, if you want to know more about it, then you should go with this tour. So that's really a nice way of presenting a blog, explain something, and then connect it to a service or a tour that you are selling. Then it's really integrated. One thing that is also nicely done here, it's very easy to share this article. You want a blog to be shared by as many people as possible. So make sure these sharing links are visible and easy to use. Another really good example of blocking is Nepal Sanctuary Treks, who really dedicatedly blocked, and especially before COVID-19 kicked in, on a weekly basis. So the benefit of Nepal Sanctuary Treks blogging is that they have a lot of detailed content, and every time you make a new blog, all your other pages on your website benefit a little bit from that new blog. So the more content you have, the better your other pages will also rank, as long as the blog that you write has value. And so value always goes over quantity. Um, Meaning you should not have like a kind of a copy of Wikipedia, but really try to put your own experiences, your own advice as a tour operator in the blogs or in the articles that you describe. And once you have a lot of content, then it also becomes easy to cross link all that content. So, for example, you see here a blog about Mardi Himal, which is a trekking area that is also very close to Annapurna Base Camp. In this case, it was not a blog, but it's actually a product. So they do that very smartly. They link blogs to each other, but they also link their blogs through their products to their products. And then what happens is you have an extra link to that product from a page that is very related to it. And then the chance that that product is ranking higher in Google is much more high. That's why blogging is so powerful. Um, a great example, and what they do is how do they make this happen is dedicatedly blogging every week, and put that time for their staff to do that blogging. So if you're doing the blogging yourself as an entrepreneur, then try to do at least one day to week, or one day a month, or just make an outline and let your staff further fill that in. By the way, there are these days tools that help the writing much more easier, because those are artificial intelligence tools, and so there are tools on the market that is called Jarvis or Writer, and I really suggest you to experiment that with it. Now, one other thing that I want to show you about this blog is having some very long blog. It's maybe 2,000 words or something. And so what they do to make it readable, they create a good table of contents, and that's also handy for um, Google. This is also maybe questions that people ask. Do I need a travel insurance before trekking to Mari Himal? This question might be asked in Google, and if you have an answer to that question on your website, then Google might serve your blog, especially if it's well written, as the answer on that question. So you could add a lot of new traffic. Mastering answering questions through blogging is 10 adventures. Have a look at that. They answer very detailed questions. So they are going for very niche in the market that very few people will search about. So they will have very less competitors. But because they make so much content, in the end, it will drive them quite a lot of traffic. Plus, Google really sees them as experts because they give answers to so many questions, so many detailed questions about several parts of the destinations that they offer. So, for example, here they are saying 8 interesting facts you may not know about the Walker's Hout route to Zermatt, a specific walking route, high walking route in the Swiss mountains. What you have to be a little bit careful is the more detailed you go, but what you can actually discuss about the topic, and you will also see that here a little bit in 10 Adventures. The amount of text they have about this question is not that much. So that's a little bit where you need to think about the balance, because try to have at least like 600-800 words per block, because otherwise the content becomes so thin, and then it's not valuable for Google anymore. What they also do here really nicely is linking to other blogs, like for example here, preparing for your trek. So if you have a lot of questions answered and they all link preparing for your trek, then preparing for your trek will probably be quite high in Google. And so you're using other articles also to get your main article, which you actually want to drive most of your traffic to, higher in the search engines. Instead of creating your own blog, you can also let influencers or your clients write blogs. And that is what Flashback is doing. So they encourage their travelers to write stories about their experiences during their trip, and they publish the best articles on their website. And that brings us to the end of the course, in which you learned that you have to set a strategy to be able to create targeted content. And with CBI, we prefer that you focus on a niche. And the niche wheel that you can find in the market information document is very helpful for you to decide what kind of target market and what kind of personas you should target to. Then, with the framework inspire, help, prove, and sell, you're going to collect targeted content for that persona. Then we learned you some technical aspects, and after that we zoomed in some most important web pages for your tourism website. So I hope you enjoyed this course, and if you have any questions, please use the comments. And good luck with creating awesome tourism websites that sell.